Tommy Robinson's physical and mental health situation is continuing to get worse in prison. His legal team have now deployed an independent psychologist to do a full investigation, and we still have not received any statement from the British government. Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. Tommy Robinson continues to be in jail. It's now been over 128 days or so that has been in solitary confinement at the Wood Hill prison. Now, we have covered a lot over the last few months in terms of his situation, both in regards to his mental health and even in terms of physically, because of the restrictions on him in terms of exercising, in terms of the food, access to the canteen in prison and everything else. Now, his legal team have been working hard behind the scenes over the last few weeks to find some sort of workable solution. Now, there is an update from Tommy's team, which we're going to go through, and I'm going to give him my reaction to this. Of course, get your reaction in the comment section and in the live chat as well. Before we do that, as you guys know, we continue to promote 2CTV Plus as our independent platform. That's the membership website, which you can go on 2c.tv. You get access to documentaries. Some of you guys have been very generous and lovely and been members of YouTube, which is obviously different. That's being a member on YouTube. And obviously to give you guys something in return, because you guys don't get much out of this. We're actually going to do a live Q&A for the YouTube members. Obviously, we do the weekly ones with 2CTV Plus members on the site, on the chat forum. So tomorrow we're going to do obviously an exclusive, just one-off for you guys, YouTube members, live Q&A right here on YouTube, because you guys are the members of YouTube, so you can get access to it. 9 p.m. UK time. If you're a YouTube member, we'll send a link to the community tab on the actual homepage of the YouTube channel, and obviously I'll see you guys there. Then I'll talk to you guys about converting to 2CTV Plus instead of YouTube memberships, because you won't get much from this. All right, let's talk about what's going on now with Tommy. Obviously, the prison system is being completely torturous at this point. Very, very bad behavior from the system and those, and including the governor of the prison, and of course Shabana Mahmood, who is the Justice Secretary, and the Prime Minister, who is Keir Starmer. Now, as we said, it's now been over 128 days or so since Tommy has been in solitary confinement at Wood Hill. 22 hours a day he's locked in a cell, facing an 18-month sentence for a non-crime, because obviously he's a civil offender for obviously publishing the documentary that the government didn't want to be published. This is, by the way, liberal, secular, democratic society of the United Kingdom, by the way. It's not North Korea or Russia or Iran. But as a civil offender, this is how they're treating him, and you guys already know this. The problem we have is that for weeks now, some of us have been reporting, not the mainstream media, but the rest of the independent media outlets have been reporting on his treatment. Now, his legal team have appointed an independent clinical psychologist with a doctorate, and obviously he's got over 15 years experience in the NHS forensic mental health, in order to do an investigation to assess him personally and obviously deliver a report. Now, we're going to go through this investigation and the report that has been done by the doctor and the team, because it doesn't seem fair on any human being, even if they are a civil offender. I mean, forget about it. Even criminal convict needs to be treated properly in terms of basic human rights. And at least inside prison, they don't have rights outside of prison, but inside prison, we're supposed to be having some sort of civilized system, right? We do care about Islamist extremists and their human rights in prisons. Oh, we always care about that, but apparently not civil offenders like Tommy. So according to the report by the doctor, it's been confirmed by the actual physician that this is a mental torture, and I quote, "This is a mental torture, assessing him with ADHD, but also complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is obviously CPTSD, which is extremely more dangerous than your normal PTSD, because you can recover from PTSD, but you can't really fully recover from CPTSD. So And she has warned the doctor that solitary confinement is directly related to the reactivation of the past CPTSD due to the similar environment. And the doctor has also said that he has difficulties coping now. He's not doing well, exacerbated by ADHD. That is obviously making his situation worse. So now a number of people have been visiting Tommy over the last few months and weeks compared to the beginning. And obviously when I went to visit him last time, we had a different sort of experience. And at first he was very upbeat. It was still the early days, and he was still he's self-righteous that he did something right. He didn't break the law in terms of committing a crime. But obviously in recent times, people visiting him, they can tell that he's even though he's putting up a brave face, they can tell a difference between how he looks and how he talks, how he feels. According to Tommy and this report that we now have, it said, "I have lost my head. Dark dreams and cold sweats jolt me awake at 3 a.m. I cannot sleep. I am paranoid, helpless, and continually panic about my kids." Even in this dark phase, obviously his priority is his family and his kids, and he's more worried about them and their situation and what they're going through because of their father being in solitary confinement as a civil offender. Now, his legal team have launched an emergency court challenge due to the deterioration in mental health, highlighting the multiple human rights violations. It is important to talk about the human rights violations because the system, the establishment, and those who claim to care about it, they are very much they're a huge advocate of all these international entities that we're a part of, from the European Convention of Human Rights to the United Nations Human Rights Convention, and all these other groups as well, especially when it comes to the UN. They don't seem to care when it comes to someone like Tommy. Now, let's talk about the threshold. Internationally speaking, based on the human rights aspects of the United Nations, 15 days is a cutoff for when solitary confinement becomes cruel or inhuman treatment, according to the UN Mandela rules. Now, beyond that, it's a sliding scale towards torture. Now, his doctor has now obviously assessed professionally, saying this is torture. It's not just me saying it as 2CTV. It's not just Tommy's friends saying it, this is torture using layman words. No. Professionally speaking, it's mental torture. And legally speaking, according to the United Nations themselves, after 15 days, it becomes basically torture. Why is it there hasn't been any urgency or even a sort of fear from the establishment that this could backfire on them and the whole system that they claim to protect? Now, I think they don't seem to care much, mostly because they say, well, as long as no mainstream political party, so from the Tories, Reform, Labour, Lib Dems, as long as they don't really bring it up in the House of Commons, as long as the legacy media, the BBCs, the Skies, Channel 4s, all these guys, they don't talk about it, we are fine. Because they think that the influence just comes from the mainstream. They don't understand that more people are watching this channel right now, and obviously post live stream, more people will be watching this live report than watching BBC News. They don't understand that times have changed, that more people are now finding out about individuals like Tommy Robinson than previously. A few years ago, 10 years ago, people only got their information from the mainstream sides, so including BBC or Channel 4, and the newspapers, when the newspapers told them that Tommy Robinson is basically a villain, a lot of people believed it. They were like, yeah, that guy seems to be a little bit too much, according to the newspapers. But times have changed. People are doing their own research. They can find out more information on social media, on new media outlets like 2CTV and many others as well. And you have seen the change. You've seen the last few years, the last couple of years, the rallies that we've done, the United Kingdom movement, that the crowd that turn up is no longer the BBC successfully managing to do their own propaganda. Back in the day, when you had the English Defence League and the EDL rallies, the BBC, what they would do is they would go in and they could see them. The majority of them are basically working class young men, and some of them are football fans, and they go and take certain pictures from certain angles and find the one person or two people who are causing trouble, and they will just show that's basically the whole crowd. What they're not doing now is been United Kingdom rallies and everything that we've done in recent times, that you can see the crowd actually diverse, not in a woke way, just naturally and organically diverse, different ages as well, women, men, grandmothers, grandfathers. They think, well, we shouldn't really report this, right? Because people will see the truth. They think people haven't seen, but more people are waking up. Now, there is still a point, by the way. A lot of people are still burying their heads in the sand. A lot of people who have their own problems in their own lives, they don't really follow current affairs all the time, which is, by the way, not a good thing. And it's only a symptom in technically Western civilized world, because people think, oh, we have freedom, we have democracy, everything's fine. We're not in Iran. It's different, right? So they don't even need to know, for example, who the deputy prime minister is. I can assure you, go outside on the street, there will be many people who wouldn't really know who the deputy prime minister is. Not many people are following what you guys are following, but more of you are coming out now. More people are waking up. But the issue is, the establishment still basically rely on the fact that a lot of people don't really do their own research, and they still basically get their news from the headlines of the BBC. If the BBC basically says, like what we had about a year and a half ago, when the St. George's Day happened, and also the Remembrance Sunday, well, Saturday actually, the Armistice Day, where Tommy was there, and some of his supporters, and many others as well, and I went there to do a full live stream. Despite that, afterwards, the mainstream came and created their own narrative and propaganda, saying the far right came and attacked everyone and caused trouble. That was not the case. But back in the day, a lot of you guys probably, and myself, probably would have believed the news headlines. Oh yeah, there's a photo of the police horses with a crowd with English flags, right? You know, a lot of people would have believed that. Oh yeah, some football hooligans causing trouble. But we were there to show you the full evidence. And others as well, but by the way, other new media outlets that do a good job. And they think they can still continue with that narrative. So that's why you don't really get any statements from Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, because they don't feel the pressure yet. But we have actually been able to achieve something bigger. Channels like mine, Jeff Taylor, Paul Thorpe, many others who are doing a similar thing, and Urban Scoop themselves, by essentially telling the truth and showing the full context of everything that happens at these rallies, about Tommy's personality and his character, which is an imperfect person, and he admits, but he's done so much for the country, for the people of this nation. More mainstream people are slowly waking up as well. A lot are actually joining. At least a lot of them are slowly saying nice things. Back then they would say, oh, I'm not even going to mention Tommy's name. But we've had many good people from technically the more mainstream parts of Westminster politics, including people like Ben Habib, including people like Howard Cox, many others. I know they're not completely obviously like mainstream right now because they're not part of a mainstream party, but they are technically the grown-ups. They were the ones who a few years ago, not necessarily these two, I'm just saying these type of politicians would have been the ones who probably would have felt, okay, I'm not really going to mention the name because I'll get into trouble. But these guys are brave. They came out first, and many others like these two, by the way. I just mentioned two names, but there are so many others, and also some of the mainstream-ish commentators and media people. Again, a big shout out to people like Dan Wootton, good friend of mine, and others as well who are doing this. Before, a lot of people in these sort of jobs wouldn't have been able to say. They were like, well, it's just not worth it, right? And they didn't really know Tommy. But over the last couple of years, again, thanks to all the other new media outlets as well, even big shout out to Heretics channel, Andrew Gold, and others, when they started having Tommy on, and Jordan Peterson, then others were like, oh, wait, hang on, let me just watch this, let me listen to it. Back then, a lot of you guys who've been following individuals like Tommy, some of you guys have been following him for like 10 years, right? Some of you probably about 6, 7 years, 5 years, because some people started watching his, for example, the Oxford Union speech, and they're like, well, actually, wait, this guy makes sense. You know, and he's also not even that radical. So this is the whole thing. The narrative is changing. They still haven't realized that they live in the analog world, the establishment. But we are here to remind them that you are dying off. Let's get some reaction from you guys. The first super chats, then non-super chats. Mark, thank you, saying stay strong, Tommy. By the way, I will have an update on Tommy tomorrow for you guys, hopefully. I can't get into the details. I can't say it yet. I think that should make sense why I can't say it now, but I can say tomorrow. If it relates to Tommy and me, yeah, you can guess. If you say something in live chat, I can't confirm it, but after tomorrow afternoon, I will say certain things. So I'll keep you guys posted. An update is coming. AJ Audits says, can you get your Washington reporter to arrange a meeting with Paul Thorpe and JJ Vance? Oh, you mean JD Vance? Regarding Tommy, I know he will be grateful. I can make some contacts. Thank you. Hamsley says, I have autism, but if I was in Tommy's position right now, I wouldn't cope. I really hope Tommy will be released. To be fair, I can easily say most even normal, very ordinary, like with perfect mental health, no conditions, would not be able to survive. What has it been now? 130 days? Something like that? In solitary confinement. It's not just a solitary confinement. 22 hours in a cell. Out of 24 hours, 22 hours in a cell on his own. And that, the other couple of hours, is essentially just the exercise on his own. There's nobody else to even socialize. So there are a lot of people look at this, for example. This is why people don't understand. There's still so many people don't understand. Tenko says, come on, I support Tommy, but you're blowing this out of proportion. He'll be fine. Just ride his bang up. See, you have to put yourself in that position right now. Firstly, the facts are the facts. The doctor, she's confirmed it in terms of the actual assessment and what he's going through. It's not just a comment. It's not me giving a subjective opinion. It's a professional assessment based on his physical and mental health. That's one thing. But also, even if you didn't have the confirmation from the doctor, you can easily tell. Just close your eyes, think about, put yourself in that position. For months and months, you're not seeing anybody or talking to anybody. And apart from the solitary confinement, they've been putting you through more chaos, which is they come to your cell saying, okay, so today we've cancelled the visits again. No one's going to visit you this week. And also, you can't have access to the canteen, the food canteen. You're just going to have this tuna fish every single day. That's mostly the psychological part of it, which again still affects your physical being. But it's definitely obviously affecting his mental health. Mark says, thank you, Mark. Trump considering tariffs over Tommy's treatment. Elon wants him to cut off Farage as well for betrayal over Ukraine and not supporting Tommy. I believe, obviously, but now that we have this legal challenge in court by Tommy's lawyers, what you're going to see is there will be, and obviously because we will be pushing it, and Urban Scoop will be pushing it, and many others, the independent media outlets will be pushing it as a news report. Eventually, it's going to get huge again on social media, and certain people will have to respond. Now, Vera says, the world is watching. We also have another non-super chat. Frank says, lock yourself in a room with no TV, radio, human contact, and any stimulation. You will lose your freaking mind after a week, if you even get to a week. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. I just realized I've misspelled deployed. That's lovely. Can't even type anymore today. There we go. Fixed the title. Is it fixed? Should have been. All right, let's get back to you guys. Mika says, idiots are saying it's fine. Try doing this to a lefty. There'll be an uproar by scum media, not just the lefty. I can assure you, if this sort of thing happens to someone who's, let's just say, has more credibility from the perspective of the mainstream. Now, I'm not going to name names, but we've had these situations before where if, for example, a mainstream journalist is targeted or attacked or harassed by the police, and we've had it recently, or they make a huge deal all the time. But when it happens to the rest of us, and by the way, Tommy still has a huge platform and they still don't really care, right? there is a double standard. They didn't, for example, what happened to Nia Corbani and Mark Burbeck and myself with the police. They didn't want to touch it, the mainstream media. But, a journalist just getting a phone call from the police, just saying, oh, there is a bit of a hate speech situation. It's a non-crime hate incident. We're not going to arrest you, but, someone complained about you. Oh, the whole of the media talk about it. Oh, yeah, well, this is an attack on free press and journalism, blah, blah, blah. But when it happens to others, they don't care. Alan says, get off your backside and get him out. They've got these things now outside prisons, gates and walls. It's kind of difficult, and they will shoot you down. They have guns as well. This generation are as soft as putty. Yeah, no, because you can't. They have guns, and they have sensors. They have gates. Even the windows have gates. Have the barriers. You can't. It sounds good. But even in dictatorships, the Iranians who have been in prison as political prisoners, their families and friends have been trying to go in and release their loved ones from political prisons. They can't, because they have these walls and doors and gates. It's not easy. It's easy to say it, but you can't do that. People are complaining about the sound quality. What is happening with the sound quality, guys? Some people are saying it's fine. Some people are saying it's cutting off. Is it my voice or? Sorry about that. Barry Glass says that this is political torture. If Tommy's lawyers can't intervene under the Human Rights Act, this country is definitely a Stasi state and inhumane. As we said, the lawyers, based on the assessment of the doctor, they have now obviously launched the legal challenge in court. They are doing what they're supposed to be doing to obviously get a better situation. Frankie says that this is insane. I can't imagine this happening in the US. These people need to be fired and criminally charged for this. The thing about the US is, again, it always goes back to the different structure of the governance. I've repeated this many times, but in the US, the power comes from the people, by the people, for the people. That means that with enough pressure, you will have enough representation, whether it's the district judges, whether it's your congressman, whether it's your governor or your president, basically, if your president is on side. There's always enough mechanism for America to, and also journalism in the media, apart from your CNNs on ABCs and CNBC, MSNBC, you have a lot of alternatives that actually are heard by the establishment. We don't really have that. The system in the UK is completely centralized, and it's not even in the hands of the politicians. It's in the hand of the state, the actual faceless bureaucrats who never actually leave the job. Even if you change a government, the same people will be running the show regardless. Super chat from Tesbot, thank you, saying it's hard to really imagine how bad this situation is. Praying for Tommy. Yeah. As I said, I'll give you some update tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon, to see how he's doing. Simone says, this has gone too far now. They do not even treat people that kill children like this in jail. Yep. This is not lawful. Someone is trying to desperately destroy his memory, and I think his whole soul. The idea is to crush him completely. But the thing is, these sort of things backfire. But they don't care. Because, for example, if this sort of treatment will result in actual, someone become crazy and militant and become, some sort of actual far-right terrorists, anarchists, right? They still don't care, because they're like, see, we proved you. We told you these people are all basically football hooligan thugs, and then they'll just go and arrest more people. It's a lose-lose. Colin says, are we all ashamed of Britain yet? Because this is so embarrassing to the world. Britain was the founder of democracy. I mean, at least when it comes to the modern democracy that we have, and parliamentary democracy. So proving the world is mentally deficient. Starmer, yeah. Not befitting a prime minister. Again, let's not forget, the issue is not just the elected politicians. It's those behind closed doors, the faceless bureaucrats. Well, yes, Starmer has a lot to answer. Donald says, Starmer and his band of scum want to antagonize until people rise up so they can continue the plans they want in place. These YouTube sites that we rely on will go. Tommy, put yourself first. You come home. So yes, we do know that they are coming for the rest of us, because the latest updates that we have, and we're actually speaking to someone who's hopefully going to be a whistleblower from Ofcom to give us more information, because they are using Ofcom, which is, by the way, in case you're watching from a different country, is the regulator for broadcast media. So for the TV channels, it was supposed to be to just keep in check in terms of the UK channels, ITV, BBC, Sky, whatever. They are now, what they've been planning to do for the past couple of years is now going to be eventually happening, which is to use Ofcom to regulate YouTube channels and basically new media outlets. The problem with this is that because I'm talking to this person who hopefully will actually give us more info. I told you guys a few months ago, this plan is not workable. You can either get Ofcom as a regulator to do blanket policies, sort of like what the websites themselves have, like YouTube have a set of guidelines, right? They're blanket policy, because you can't really monitor thousands and thousands of channels. So I thought it would be like a blanket policy sort of thing. But then apparently, according to the information we're getting, they will actually be targeting a list of channels, and they will update that list. So it will be, I don't know, like a few hundred channels, new media channels on YouTube or on other platforms as well, and like Rumble, and they will be doing a crackdown on them specifically. And by the way, this is going to be a huge list. It's still going to be a few hundred, because I think they're going to basically go and look at the scale of the subscribers they have, followers that they have, the viewership, and well, this means that they are going to come for all our type of channels, which doesn't really help. So everybody has to find a solution in terms of moving their base somewhere else. Even if you go to the Republic of Ireland, you will be safer, because Ireland is not within the UK, so but it's in the EU. So if Ofcom does something here, don't be surprised if the European Union also follows it. So even going to Ireland might not be the best option, but a lot of these type of channels will have to go somewhere else in order to be able to operate. In terms of the legal entity, should move somewhere else at least. Otherwise, they will be doing a crackdown. Switch up from Cara saying, remember lockdowns and how we all struggled? What Tommy is going through is 100 times worse. Exactly. It's like even after 6 weeks of lockdown, after a few weeks of it, the first lockdown, I was going crazy. And I was still technically, we were all communicating with each other, like video calls and all that. And you can still bump into people when you go to your local supermarkets, right? And you go to your park. But it is completely different. It is not only is not seeing anybody, it's 22 hours in a dark cell, and also the lack of access to basic things. Anyways, it's not like that the prison should be like a luxury. Prison should not be like a hotel. But firstly, for a civil offender, they shouldn't really put him through the same treatment as a criminal convict. Criminal convicts, obviously, proper prison. Civil offenders, firstly, they shouldn't be in prison. They should be on the house arrest at worst. But you should still get the basics. You should still get access to the canteen, the food canteen, in the prison. But that's not really the case, and that is one of the biggest issues that we have. Somebody suggested those who have issues with the sound quality just have to refresh the page. I'm guessing the problem is with YouTube, because the others, I don't know, it seemed to be fine with hearing my voice. It's not cutting off, right? So yeah, maybe a refresh, but just a good advice for the future as well. As I said at the beginning of the live stream, we always promote 2CTV Plus. That's our actual independent platform and website. But a lot of you guys are members on YouTube, and you guys don't really get much because we don't do a membership benefit sort of thing. But I thought it would be good to kind of talk to you guys directly as well. So those of you who are YouTube members, it's the ones with the color things next to the names. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. UK time, we're going to do an exclusive live Q&A thing, live stream, just for you guys, so you can actually talk to me directly in the live chats. I'll put the link in the community tab on the channel for the members only. But obviously, I'm going to use that to convince you to move to 2CTV Plus rather than give your money to YouTube, because obviously it's better to give the money to 2CTV rather than YouTube. The YouTube membership obviously is controlled by YouTube and Google. We still appreciate your support, obviously, but if you want to get more out of what you're paying, because otherwise your money just going to someone else, it's best to actually get something out of it. Get access to the documentaries and chat forum and everything else. Conrad says that if Tommy converted to Islam, Keir Starmer could get a double knighthood for representing. There would be a load of legal aid. They could call the new double air qualification officially two-tier Keir. I mean, that's one strategy. Terrible way. But yeah, I mean, we'll keep you guys posted on the legal challenge in court by Tommy's legal team. And tomorrow afternoon, later afternoon, I'll have some update for you guys from Tommy himself and everything else. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.